Ao Matakayape. My name is Tyler Read, and I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for the Rapid City Police Department here at the Knollwood Substation on the north side of Rapid City. In addition to that being my line of work, I am also a graffiti artist. So to begin, my father-in-law always told me that it's important when I introduce myself to people that I should bring my family with me. So with that, my father-in-law, his name was Richard Badmoccasin from the Crow Creek Sioux tribe in Fort Thompson, South Dakota. My mother-in-law was Beverly Lesmeister Badmoccasin from Eagle Butte, South Dakota, the Cheyenne River Reservation. So today what I'm going to do is talk to you a little bit about my art form, graffiti art, and a little bit about the culture behind it, and then we're going to do an activity. And that activity will bridge my art and culture, which is graffiti art, with Lakota language and Lakota language revitalization. So before I lead you on that project and show you a little bit of my own work, what I would like to do is just talk a little bit about the art form that I participate in and why I call it a culture in itself. So when you think about the things that surround culture, what culture offers us as people, it offers us a sense of value, things that we appreciate. It offers us some commonality, a sense of friends and things that all of our friends have in common, and sometimes family as well. And it gives us a sense of work ethic, things that we strive to achieve because we appreciate those things and work towards, and a sense of right and wrong and value, a value system. Those are the things that culture provides us. Graffiti art has given me all of those things. And so I'll talk a little bit about that last one, the sense of ethics evolved around graffiti art. So graffiti art is a big, big culture with lots of people involved for a lot of different reasons. There's a lot of different subgenres of graffiti, etc. And when I started graffiti art in 1991 in Seattle, Washington. So I've been doing graffiti art now for 30 years. And when I started as many do. I wrote my graffiti, practiced my graffiti pretty much wherever I wanted to, and some places that I wasn't allowed to or not supposed to. And I got in a lot of trouble for that. And not only did it damage parts of the community, but it had a lot of damage on me personally as well. I had to do a lot of community service, a lot of cleanup, and it cost me a lot in fines. But then as I got older, I still loved the art form, but I figured out different ways to use that culture and that art form to build the community up instead of tearing it down. And I started using graffiti art as a microphone, a voice, so that I could share positive messages and things that built the community up and help them to build their voice as well. So when I do murals now, I do them for good purposes. I do them never to tear down, but always to lift up and celebrate things instead of destroy them. And so I just wanted to share that. So I'm gonna, one of the favorite projects that I ever worked on doing graffiti art, and I've done this a few times here in Rapid City and Eagle Butte, revolves around that hybrid of graffiti art and the definition of graffiti art. Graffiti art's a big thing, like I said, but in essence, what it is the art of creative lettering. Taking the simple tools that are letters and words and turning them into a visual piece of art in itself. Something that's beautiful and that celebrates language. And so one of the projects that I most loved and done with several groups now is a hybrid of graffiti art and Lakota language preservation. Because as you may know, there's not that many fluent Lakota language speakers left. And so today, in order to preserve that language, which is so important to any culture, we have to find new ways to revitalize that language and lift it up and celebrate it so that it can be spoken again. And as you may or may not know, traditionally, Lakota was only a spoken language. It wasn't a written language. But more recently, a lot of very fluent Lakota speakers have figured out a way to translate Lakota language into a written language. And you can find resources now, including whole dictionaries that translate Lakota language written. And with that begins a new way that we can celebrate this language and bring those important words to the next generation. And what a better way to do that than through making those words big and beautiful and on the sides of walls. And so that will be the next thing that we're going to do together. I'll show you a little bit of my past work, and then I'm going to lead you through that project where you'll select a Lakota word that you appreciate. It may be a word, it may be your Lakota name. It may be one of your favorite words that you know that was passed down to you. Or if you're a fluent speaker, maybe you can help somebody else find what word they want to work on. And then I'm going to teach you the art of graffiti lettering, and you will celebrate that language with me. Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed some of those pictures of the different art that I've done. That's just a little bit of the art that I've done probably over about the last 10 years or so. Some of those murals were here in Rapid City and others were done in Eagle Butte. And I worked out there for about a year as the art director for Wanietu Wawapi Lakota Youth Arts and Culture Institute, which was the art program for the Cheyenne River Youth Project. And they do some great work out there. They actually have this big festival every year where they invite graffiti artists from across the country and some even further than that One came from as far away as Switzerland to create murals, graffiti murals throughout Eagle Butte, South Dakota, that are graffiti murals but based in Lakota culture, and tell some of the stories of Lakota culture. So if you're ever out in Eagle Butte and you see murals, that's where they're from. They're from the Red Can Graffiti Jam that happens out there. So what I want to do now, before we get started on the art project, is to just go over some base words that you can use today. If you don't know any Lakota words, I thought I would bring some up that you could use if you choose. And I'm not going to try and say them because my cousin, who is a fluent Lakota speaker, his name is Sid Bad Moccasin III. Yeah, Sid Bad Moccasin III. We call him Jun Jun. Anyway, he is a fluent speaker, and he told me, he explained about things like diacritic marks and that nasalization, and those things. I still struggle with those quite a bit, and I am not a Lakota speaker, but the one way that I can help revitalize that language culture is at least to be able to make beautiful art out of it. So I consulted the Lakota English dictionary, and I pulled out some words with a theme to them that you can use if you want when we do the lettering exercise. And the theme that I chose were medicines. And that's because, this is a crazy time. We've got COVID going on, and one thing that's important, in addition to getting that vaccine out to everyone, is also to make sure that we keep ourselves healthy with our traditional medicines. And that is both spiritually and physically. These are the medicines that will help us keep our immune system strong. And so here are some of those words. Now I'm sure you all know this one. And if you choose one of these words, you can just pause it and take a look at the words and make sure to add those diacritic marks. That's what these marks here are called. Those marks are very important to the language. If you remove them, they could become an entirely different word. So when you do your piece, make sure that you add those marks. Here's the word for white sage, and I believe that's Pegiota. That's white sage. That's another good medicine to keep at your house with you for when you need it. Here is the word for cedar. Now notice where those diacritic marks are. Those marks are important. So if you're going to use that word, make sure you add those marks. Here is the word for tobacco. Now usually when I do this project, I have somebody who can speak Lakota with me, and so they can say the words. I don't want to mess the words up, so I'm not going to attempt to say them unless I know for sure I know how they are. But here is another one, and I broke this one down because bear root is a good medicine to have on hand. When my family got COVID, and when we had that disease, we had friends who sent us bear root syrup that and we took that every day in kind of an elixir form. It really helped. And we had some fire cedar water that they sent as well. They sent it all the way from Washington, and it was very helpful. And you'll probably know this one, Azealia. That's to smudge And smudging is, you probably know this, but if you don't, smudging is the act of taking that cedar, uh, pardon me, the sage, and burning that. You burn it in a shell, and then the smoke purifies. It purifies the air. It's said to take the toxins out of the air, but also you can use it to send your prayers up to Creator. Tonkashila. Now, I don't want to misspeak and give you any wrong information. So, my specialty is graffiti art. But I hope that you pick one of these words or a word that you already know, and you can use that word to do this graffiti project with me. And the next part, we're going to get to the graffiti lettering. So I'm going to walk you through that now. And I'm going to pick a word, and then I'm going to do that and show you basically the steps that you'll take. So we'll do that next. Hey everybody, I'm back. Okay, so here's the final part. This is the part where I'm going to show you how to do the lettering. This is the part that I'm good at. However, saying this word I'm not so good at. My cousin Junjun, he taught me how to say this word a while back, and it's got some real nasal parts to it that I have a trouble pronouncing. So I'm gonna try once, but you guys gotta promise not to laugh at me if I mess it up. And the word is ichitupi, and that word means to give of yourself or service. And I chose that word because it's an important word to me. I think when I think about medicines, this may not be one that you'd think of right off the bat, but when you serve others, that is good medicine, both for others and for yourself. And it's something that I really believe in, to serve people. I've had a lot of great opportunities to learn from mentors and people that I really look up to, and that their leadership was, in essence, it was kind of a service to me, that they shared that knowledge and believed in me and gave me opportunities. And so I really believe in that service leadership. And that's some of the reason why I took this position with the police department. But maybe I'll get into a little bit more of that later. But for right now, we're going to take this word and turn it into a graffiti. So here's the essence of how we do this. The first thing is the outline. And the outline, basically I look at it as like wind. You think of wind blowing, and it has that nice organic breeze to it. So, and that's important because graffiti lettering, the thing about lettering, when you usually think of lettering, you think of just like this, straightforward. It's a tool. You know how to write it, and it's just one stroke, just like that, right? But graffiti lettering is big, and it's bold, and it's beautiful, and it has a movement to it and a flow to it. That's what I love about graffiti lettering. It's got that movement and flow. So we're going to start by figuring out the outline for that movement and flow. And like I said, I think of it as wind, but I start on one side, and I start on one side of the page, on the left side, and I just kind of make a wavy line like this. And then I take another one, and I think if you imagine like blowing wind. It starts, if your lips are here, let's say, and then you blow, it starts small, and then that wind swoops out like that. So I kind of mimic that first line and the second line. See? I'm going to take that part out. And basically, now you have your flow or your movement outline. And all the letters, I'll jump ahead here, all the letters are going to fit into that. That's how you know where the letters go, that flow and movement. So the next step is you figure out how many letters there are. So in this word, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters. And so I need to make 7 spaces for those letters to go in. That way, if I just started writing just across on this first one and I didn't plot out where the letters go, then maybe here is the I. Let's say I have a great big I right here, right? And then I do a great big C like this, and then another I. Uh-oh. I ran out of space. Now I can't do the rest of the word. Pardon me. So that's why I take and I figure out where each letter is going to go. So 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, 6 space, and this is the 7th space where the letters go. Now I know where each letter is going to fit. And sometimes I'll write them right above, just so I remember what letter I'm doing. I, C, U, I, wait. I, see, I, see, I, see? I was messing myself up already. C, U, P, I. Just like that, okay? Now, I want you to notice something with these with the movement here. Notice I didn't just go straight up and down with those, okay? I flowed with the letters. So if I had taken and I had just made the letters, okay, so here's where the I goes, straight up and down, straight up and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I do it this way, that completely changes the way the letters flow. Because watch, I'll show you. So here's the I. Here's the C. Here's the I. Here's the C. And notice it's got this beautiful movement and flow on the top and bottom, but the rest is square as a brick of just straightforward block letters, okay? And that's okay, but we really want to get that movement going in there like you see here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that on these, we give it some, we don't go straight up and down, but we kind of roll with the movement, okay? So if you look at the flow lines, it's kind of jumping up, and then it's going down and then back up. So I have it kind of starting to jump, and then it's coming down, see? And then it starts to level off, and then it starts to go up again. And that helps it give it some nice flow, okay? So the next part is to start developing the letters. Now I'm going to refer back to this. And if you see, the important thing about graffiti letters is that they're big and they're blocky. They're bold, they stand out. You know, we are used to writing letters like this. One stroke, just very simple. But that's not what graffiti looks like. Graffiti is big and it's fancy. And so because of that, what we need to do is use bars. And we don't make little skinny bars, we make big ones. So basically, you can think of each of these areas that you set aside almost like, and sometimes I'll lightly put them in, is kind of a tic-tac-toe pattern, right? Okay? So I got tic-tac-toe going on here. And those are going to be my guides. Now, I don't put these in real heavy. I don't press down hard because all these lines eventually you'll probably want to erase them once you're getting your piece finished. You won't want them on there. But see, I kind of have those as guidelines, just so I know where to put my stuff, okay? Now, let's start filling in those letters. Okay, so we're going to start with that I. So when you think about the lines that are in an I, I'm going to recreate that. So if you think about the lines that are in an I, here's a tic-tac-toe, right? It would be, and here is a capital I. You could also do a little I if you want, but I'm going to do a capital. So the first thing, I always call it the backbone. The part of the letter that makes it stand up and down, okay? That's the backbone. That makes the letter stand up. So we're going to do this line first, and that would go right down the middle. That's it. The next is, we'll put on the hat. I'll just call that the hat. It's a bar that goes across right here, okay? So that's there, okay? And again, we'll just do these in light. I'm doing it kind of hard so you can see where it is, and then I'm going to outline it. But you should do this part light just so you can kind of see where it is at. Okay, and here's the I. That's the bottom of the I, this part, right? Can you see this? I don't know how big it's showing up. But when you're done, if you look really closely, here is the I you came up with. Kind of just pops out at you. Now that's how you do an I. But that's not what this box looks like. Our box kind of looks like this, okay? So we still have that kind of moving tic-tac-toe, right? So with that in mind, our I is going to look more like this. And then you see how beautifully that just kind of jumps up? It looks like that I is leaping into the air, okay? So, now we've got our I in place. And I'm just going to kind of go with this. And you can do the tic-tac-toes if you want. You don't have to. But the reason why it helps is because people so often, you'll see, they're used to writing skinny letters. So what they end up doing is they'll have the movement bars like this, but then they'll make little skinny lines like this. And that will be, and then they'll have a little skinny C like this. And then another I over here, just kind of floating. And in the end, it looks very wispy, but it's not bold like graffiti. Graffiti art is thick and bold letters. You want to be able to make letters so thick that you can put other designs and pictures inside. Maybe when I'm done doing this piece, I'm gonna want to put a cityscape in it, or maybe I'll put some teepees behind it and an eagle flying or something like that, you know. You can do all kinds of stuff if you make your letters big enough. So let's go from here. So now we're going to do the C. And that is basically, you know, when you're breaking it down into kind of a blocky form, that's going to be your C. You got the spine, the top, and the bottom. So here would be the spine, right here, okay? And then here would be the top, and here would be the bottom. And then here is the next I. Now we already did an I, so we kind of know where it's going to be at, right? But it's very important when you're starting, when you're getting your foundation, to make sure that you are using bars, because that's going to keep it straight. The other thing some people will do is they'll go, okay, here's an I, and this side's skinny, and then this side gets fat, and then this side gets skinny, and it barely even looks like an eye anymore, because it looks more kind of like a, see if I put a little eyeball here on some spikes, see what I got? I got a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's not an eye. It's kind of cool though, but anyway. So the next part is that next C. We got that next C on deck. So first, the spine, the top, the bottom. So we're gonna put that first bar, right? And then the top bar. We'll put that top bar on there. And then that bottom bar. We'll put that on there. And when we're done, when we outline it a little bit harder, you see that C. Do you see those letters starting to pop through? Because once you start erasing the lines, look what happens. All those bars, the guidelines. It's a perfect C, right? Same thing with that eye. Let's check it out. Oh, you know what we forgot? Because I got those lines there, but these are going to need those diacritic marks, right? So I'm going to add some of those on there. And then this one, we'll add that big dash on top. I just call it a dash. I don't know what it actually is, but it's a diacritic mark. That's all I know. Because my cousin Jun said that. Now here comes the U, okay? The U has kind of two spines, two parts that stand up and one part on the bottom. So we'll do that first part. Here's the first bar, right? Here's the second bar, but that almost looks like V. So we gotta leave some space so we can put that in there, okay? You see that U? Now let's put the P. There's the spine and the rest. So here's that spine. Here's this part. And then we will just poke a part out of the middle, right there. You see that P? And the last letter, I'm just gonna throw kind of I'm gonna do a lowercase I on this one. I don't know how that's gonna turn out, but I just feel like a lowercase I might be the way to go. So there's my lowercase I. Actually, that looks, I'm not sure what that looks like. We'll run with it, we'll see. Okay, so now we've got our letters all drafted out, right? You see that? Check it out, looks pretty snazzy, right? We're getting there. So the next part, I'm gonna go back to this one and I'm gonna kind of feed off. So what you see here is we got all those letters nice and flowy and moving, but we kept them all inside the lines. And now we're gonna break the rules and we're gonna go outside of the lines to give it a little bit of funk, a little bit of our own character. That's what we call it in graffiti. We put the funk on it. So here's the C, right? And you just take that C and let's kick it up. See how I kicked it up right here? Okay. And then maybe I'll put a little bend on it right down here. I'm trying to remember, I think they call that like italics or something in fonts, in letter design. You know, you just put, oh no, serifs. They call it serifs. That's what they call it when you design, because not, when you read books and stuff, there's lots of different fonts. And graffiti art has a little bit, you know, creative lettering has a little bit to do with standard typography is what they call it, or lettering. So this has some relation to that. So we're gonna put some serifs on these letters. And notice, I don't make it too sharp or jaggy, right? And the how I do that, see how this one's sharp? Sometimes you can do that, but if you make all your parts super pointy like that, then it starts to look kind of like broken glass. And so what you can do to avoid that is to just add an extra part in there. So instead of just going straight like a V, you'd go down and then you'd cut a little piece and then go back up. See how I did that? So you do stuff like that. And now that I did that, I think this side needs to go way up. Like that, okay? And then I'm just gonna add a little bit follow through over there on that. And then maybe I'll cut down on this and then make a little jag there, and that'll be my U. But see how this part I cut back up like that? So this is just how you add a little bit of your own flavor onto those letters. And you got that nice movement, and now you're adding some character and just making the letters real primo, right? And that's how graffiti artists make letters. Now, there's all different kinds of styles, and this is a great way to begin because it teaches you the essence of the important parts of letter structure. That movement and flow and that big, bold lettering. That's the most important thing. As you're practicing this, make sure your letters have movement and make sure that they're nice and thick, right? Because if they're not nice and thick, then they don't jump off the page that well. So, see how that looks? It's pretty slick, right? Now, I'm going to put an outline around it so you can see these letters a little bit better. So, if you ever want to learn more about graffiti lettering, you can find me over here at the Knollwood substation at Knollwood Apartments in the woods. Anybody out here from the woods? Anybody watching this from the woods? We got Knollwood, we got Surfwood, we got Maplewood. But at Knollwood Townhomes, if you go to the middle of Knollwood Townhomes, there is a police substation there, and that is where I office at. And I try and make it open for the community if the kids want to come by. I do a lot of different stuff here. I offer emergency food bags and diapers for families in need. I make a place for the kids. You know, a lot of kids come after school. They play Nintendo Switch and arcade games and stuff like that. I try and make it a place where the community can gather and kids can come, feel safe, hang out. So I got a lot of little ones that come by after school, but any age is welcome here. And if you want to come by and learn some more graffiti lettering, my door is open after school in the afternoons for people to stop by and come visit. This is kind of something new that the police department started to do because right now is kind of a tense time, and a lot of people, they feel kind of scared of the police, and we understand that, but we don't want you to be afraid of the police. And so I came here to try and learn from the community and become friends with everybody so that people feel a little bit better around us and not so afraid or not so angry, you know? And basically, I'm just here to be a friend to people and to serve people and to learn how to help make their neighborhood safer with them involved. So it's not just about the police, but it's about the community working together to feel more proud of their community. So that's what I'm doing out here. So if you ever want to swing by all means, come by and come see me. I love visitors. I love hanging out with people. I've been doing this for a decade now, teaching graffiti to kids, and it's just a lot of fun. So now you see, I've got the basic letters out. And now I'm gonna grab some markers and we're gonna start coloring this bad boy in. Okay, my battery is dying on this phone, so I gotta whip something up pretty quick here. So I'm gonna come up with some designs for inside the letters. And basically you can come up with anything. You just pick some colors and you can make shapes with one color. Basically, think of it like a coloring book. You know, when you're coloring, you just kind of go in your own way. You do your own thing. There's lines there, and you can fill in the lines with one color, or you can make it like all kinds of shapes inside those colors. And that's basically what I'm doing. So you just start coloring in there any old way. I think a lot of people think this part's the most fun. Actually, for me, this part's kind of stressful. I don't know why. I just like making the letters better. I like working with those kind of rigid forms and trying to figure out how to kind of architect them out or build with them, you know? That's the part I enjoy. But the coloring part's fun too, I guess. It's not stressful per se. Maybe maybe I'm getting a little bit silly there. But anyway, as you can see, this is coming along, and this is kind of how we do it. Just color it in. Just like so. And as you can see, I'm kind of going over those pencil lines, and you can see them. They get darker when I color over them. So ideally, you should probably erase those before you start coloring them in, because it gets to looking a little bit funky, as you can tell. And then, if you want to add a little bit more to it, you could do 3D. And so 3D, basically, you would this part's a little bit hard to describe for a beginning level, but you just kind of pick a point where it all goes down. So I pick one side, and you just kind of fill in from that one side, just like so. So that's kind of how it's done. I really like this art form. It never gets old to me. I've been doing it for, like I said, about 30 years. And I don't consider myself to be the best by any means. You know, I can hold my own. I know how to do graffiti after all this time, of course. But if you want to know the truth, the best graffiti artist in South Dakota is a Lakota graffiti artist named Focus Smith. And I've had the opportunity to paint with him a few times over the years. And he is a brilliant graffiti artist. I'm sure chances are you've seen his murals throughout town, because he has many of them around. So keep your eye out. And if you see a beautiful Lakota themed mural around, chances are Focus did it. He is a pretty amazing special artist. I've done some cool things over the years too, and really kind of dedicated myself to figuring out how to bridge what I love doing, graffiti art, with the public. And there's some people think it's kind of a taboo art form. They think, oh, well, it's letter-based. It's probably some gangster stuff. But you know what? I think you can look at me and tell. I'm not too much of a gangster, am I? I'm kind of a goofball. So I do this art just because I love the idea that I can take something so simple like a letter, a tool like that, and turn it into something beautiful. And it's especially fun when you get good on paper. Then the next step is to find yourself a permission wall, a place that you're allowed to paint. And they've got Art Alley downtown. So if you're interested in doing a graffiti piece on a wall, then what you would do is go down to the Doll Art Center and let them know that you'd like to paint in Art Alley, and they will set you up with a permit. And then you'll be able to go down there with permission and go paint graffiti in Art Alley. Graffiti is so much fun because it's so huge, you know. It's not just a little piece of paper like this, it's an entire wall. And the piece you make is bigger than your own body. Way bigger. If you want to see one of my graffiti pieces in person, you could go to the Rapid City Public Library, and up on the second floor, that whole second floor, that big purple wall, as you probably saw in the slides there, maybe you recognize that. That is a piece that I did. I also did a piece a while back that was No Dapple. And it was a mural of the black snake and different native cultures coming to fight it. So I used the form line art that I grew up around in the Northwest from the Haida and Tlingit tribes. And I used a big bird coming down to attack the snake. And then for the Lakota tribes, the Midwest tribes, I used ledger art. And I asked the permission of my friend Don Montolo, who is a famous ledger artist. And I said, Don, could I recreate one of your pieces fighting the black snake? It was a warrior on a horse. And so his warrior on the horse, I painted that great big fighting the snake. And then I did, for the Southwest, I did a kachina, because the kachina are known famous art form from the Southwest tribes. And so the kachina doll was coming and attacking as well. So I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you kind of got an idea of how to do graffiti art and creative lettering. And if you ever want to learn more, feel free to come on down or reach out to me. Or, you could just call the police department and say that you would like to get a hold of Tyler Read, and they will put you in touch with me. They'll probably take your name and number, and then I'll call you back. And we can set up a time to meet, and I will teach you a little bit more. This, like I said, this is just a beginner lesson. It's a good place to start. I've taught kids as young as second grade this lesson, and I've taught adults this lesson as well. Kind of works for all ages, and that's kind of what I was trying to do here. But it can get a lot more. There's so much more that you can learn. Oh, and I almost forgot to sign it. Now, I don't sign it with my name, Tyler, because when you write graffiti, you come up with kind of an alter ego. My graffiti name is Siamese. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you get inspired and try some graffiti art out for yourself. And I would love to see what you came up with if you went along with me. I want to thank Whitney Pierce and Indian Education for letting me come and talk to you and share my art and my passion with you. And I hope to see you sometime. Take care. Doksha.